Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next level tactics. From offsite and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition. Now, here's your host, Nate Need.
Welcome again to another episode of the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit about improvements of your SEO, and when we specifically talk about that, there are both on-site and off-site elements to optimizing your website, and these could take the form of domain optimization, so your website structure, your URLs, your URL structure. And then, of course, global overall on-site optimization. So for site speed, load speed, which could be global site speed, which might be different from individual page load speed. And then you might have a page-specific or page-level on-site optimization. So individual pages can be further optimized to shine above and beyond competitors or above and beyond other pages on your site. And then apart from that, you have your offsite link build or your offsite optimization, which could include your link building, your social media campaigns, and then of course, each one of these elements could have a correctional strategy that you might take. And I'm going to link to in the show notes here some very specific pointed things that you can do to help fix that. So let's dive right into the basics of domain optimization, and we'll talk a little bit further about on-site and on-page optimization, but today's episode we will first start with domain optimization. To optimize your domain, you're obviously first going to want to acquire a domain, and we've discussed that a little bit in the past. After you've acquired your domain, and we won't dive into the specifics here on how to best acquire a domain name for SEO, and including keywords and branding and everything else involved there, including the backlinks to a domain. But if you acquire your domain, you want to make sure your domain is nice and short and memorable. Same with your URL structure. So if you've already got long URLs, that's fine because you probably are already vested a little bit in your rankings and things like that. But if you don't, all future URLs should be shortened to the point, not more than a couple words, preferably, and in some cases even less. So you're going to want that. You want to make sure if you have any subdomains that those are clear and optimized. In most cases, we advise against subdomains unless there's a specific reason for doing so. Like in our case, we separately host our podcast on a subdomain, so that can be typical, but it's not ideal for SEO because you're bifurcating your link equity in that regard. So there are better ways to do it. It's best to publicize your whois information, and then choosing the right host. And we've used a number of different hosts for both ourselves and our clients in the past, including some of the cheap hosts like Bluehost, HostGator, things like that. As well as some of the little bit more advanced WordPress hosts for our site, and as well as Amazon Web Services, which isn't super WordPress friendly if you're using WordPress, but it's available and you can use it. But choosing the right hosting provider can be critical, because if you ever have a site issue where your site goes down, you're going to want to make sure that you can quickly revert to an old backed up version of it. You'll also want to make your whois information public. It can look like you're trying to do something underhanded if your whois information is kept private. You're going to want to also migrate your site very carefully. So ensure that you when you migrate that you use best practices. You don't want to have search bots get confused and then come back to your site. When it comes to actually building up domain authority and actually getting your site ranked, there's a big difference between being indexed by Google and ranking really well for your keywords. Your site may be indexed, but likely completely, what's called sandbox, but it's debatable whether that or not that exists. We like to call it the delayed link effect. if you have no backlinks and your site is fairly new, you're likely not going to see any results or be ranking for anything significant until you actually get some offsite elements. So these are some of your global domain optimization options. We'll talk a little bit further about global on-site optimization and then on-page optimization a little bit in a little bit later episodes. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you here again soon.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.